Retail pharmacy or pharma industry, which career path is best for you? Hi, I'm Tiki Louisa. I'm a pharmacist. I worked in the pharma industry for a couple of years, and I also worked in the retail pharmacy. And I think there's some major differences in either working as a retail pharmacist or in the pharma industry. That's why I'm here today to talk about the differences I noticed. Major disclaimer, these are my opinion, it's no one else's opinion. This is purely based on what I observed. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start off by seeing the main roles. If you work in the retail pharmacy, your main role is going to be the dispensing of medication, managing of prescriptions, dealing with insurance company. If, however, you choose to go to the pharma industry, there are 7 main areas in which you can work, which include but are not limited to the research and development, quality assurance, quality control, regulatory affairs, medical affairs, pharmacovigilance, and manufacturing. I said include but are not limited to because there are other areas like the clinical research, clinical trials, product management, or supply chain, which are not under this main umbrella of the 7 main parts. So your role is going to be largely determined on the part you choose in the pharma industry. If you're with regulatory affairs, for example, you're going to have to compile documents and submit them to the regulatory bodies. I, for example, was a project manager and my job was in the R&D, so my role was completely different from that of like a regulatory affairs manager or a pharmacovigilance person, or maybe someone who works in medical affairs. You're going to have completely different roles. So if you're interested in those roles in the pharma industry, take some time and research in them. Okay, now the roles aside, what next? Apart from the differences in role, the next main difference I see is the work environment. Now, if you're working in the retail pharmacy, you're going to notice that it's fast-paced and is customer facing. So your pace in the retail pharmacy is usually fast. People come in and out and you always have to be on your feet. However, if you're working in the pharma industry, most times it's structured, project-based, and is self-paced. In my role, for example, as a project manager, there were times when I had several projects in front of me, but I had the luxury of saying, okay, I could deal with this project on Monday, and on Tuesday, I'm going to concentrate on this project. I could pace myself, I could structure myself the way I wish to. However, if you're working in the retail pharmacy, people come in and out, and they want you to take care of their needs. So you are being, your pace is dictated by the number of people who come in and the number of people who go out of the pharmacy, and by their needs. Which brings me to the next point. One other difference between the retail pharmacy and the pharma industry lies in the skills which you need when working in both sectors. When you're working in the retail pharmacy, you have to have good communication skills because you're facing patients on a daily basis. You face them, you have to meet their needs, you have to have good people management skills, you have to be patient. And this is usually a very stressful thing because people from different walks of life with different ailments come to you as a pharmacist needing solutions for their problems. However, if you're working in the pharma industry, most times you work backstage and you don't get to deal with the patient face to face. So this stress associated with the fact that you have to like cater to their needs immediately is kind of eliminated because you're backstage and you don't have to deal with all that. Now, going into my next points, another thing you need in the retail pharmacy is being able to make decisions quickly and work independently. However, in the pharma industry, sometimes things are being done as projects in teams. So you have that difference between both work areas. In the retail pharmacy, you don't have a time to like consult the team to make decision on certain things. You get to decide on your own when the patient is standing in front of you based on your knowledge. However, in the pharma industry, sometimes you have to make a team meeting, come together, brainstorm, and then reach a decision. One other difference I find between both working areas, retail pharmacy and pharma industry, is in the retail pharmacy, you get to have like a general knowledge of the different drugs and the different ailments which are out there and how to handle them. Your general knowledge on such stuffs is really broad. You get to learn on a daily. You're always updating yourself so that you can keep track with the patient's need. And some of those things also include like pharma industries coming in to school you on the different products which they have and how to like recommend them to patients. And that gives an advantage to the retail pharmacy when it comes to like products. You have a lot of samples which you can try. You have things which you can take home if you're working on the retail pharmacy. Today, for example, at my job, we had like a training and I came home with said products. Now, I'm not going to like turn it around for you to see what brand it is because I'm not advertising for them for free. But yeah, I came home with this. And on a daily, people come in trying to like promote their products in the retail pharmacy. So you have that possibility of having samples. In the pharma industry, however, you don't have anyone trying to promote anything to you. You are backstage, as I said, working on a larger project. You're like part of a bigger picture. So unless you work for certain areas like maybe sales or marketing, or I don't even know if sales for sure, but not marketing. If you work in sales and maybe you work as a medical science liaison, depending on what area you're working in, you might get to have some products, also samples, which you have to pass on to your potential clients and investors. But if you don't work in these areas, then no, you don't get to get such products. Another difference worth mentioning is in the retail pharmacy, you always have to be there at a fixed time. However, if you're working in the pharma industry, sometimes you have a window in which you can come in and out. In my previous job, for example, I could be there between 9 and 9:30. That was the start of the working hours for us. So it didn't matter if I was there at 9 or at 9:30. The main thing is I should come within this window. However, in the retail pharmacy, you have patients standing at the door, the gate at the opening hour waiting for you to come and dispense their drugs. There are people in critical situations who depend on you. So the hours are very fixed and strict. This brings me to the next point. In the retail pharmacy, you have working hours which are mostly in shifts. For example, in my present job, some people work in the morning shifts, some people work in the evening shifts or in the afternoon shifts. However, in the pharma industry, most jobs are being done between 9 to 5. You don't have the possibility to work in shifts. One other difference I find between my job in the pharma industry and the retail pharmacy is, for the most part, in the retail pharmacy, you're being expected to work on some weekends. However, in the pharma industry, for the most part, you're not expected to work during the weekends. Those are the 7 main differences I find are worth considering if you're considering a career in either the retail pharmacy or even the hospital pharmacy and or the pharma industry. It's worth noting the different skill sets which you need for both areas, and based on those differences, I guess you can be able to make an informed decision or a better decision. Of course, as I said, if you're interested in the pharma industry in any of the 7 main areas, you can go on ahead to research more on it so you have a better idea of what they do. However, I thought I should bring these aspects which like affect us on a daily at our job sites when we're working for either parts, so you can take it into consideration while deciding your career path. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. I wish you the best in your career and see you next time with the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment. It boosts your interaction, will boost my video and help me to be able to have a better outreach. Thank you for stopping by. Take care. Bye.